The Connection Show. Inspiring. Hope. Health. Healing. Sponsored by Brave Heart Workshops. Live with Jill Reynolds. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like our page. Share it. Subscribe to it now and click the bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming shows.
The Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today from Missouri is Victoria Hagni. Did I say that right? Or is it Hagni?
It's close. It's close as Hagni.
Hagni.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, Victoria, to the show.
Thank you.
It's a privilege to have you. What I'd love the audience to know is just a little bit about you. So I'm going to start off with reading your bio. So Victoria is a filmmaker and an entrepreneur creating under her production business's name, Ice Media. She has produced and directed 2 multiple award-winning short films, including, and I'll probably say it wrong, so there's hard words here, Folies, Deux, and you can fix this for me, Paz Deux, and Kendall's Dream. So did I blow those? How do you say those names?
Well, you got Kendall's Dream correct. So the first one's a French little phrase, and Folies, Deux, and then pas de deux. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for correcting my French.
That's fine.
Her work has been featured in Indie Shan's magazine, as well as nominated for Best in Cinematography, Branson's International, and a finalist for the TMIF Awards show in Vegas. While not creating films, she enjoys developing young people and their creative gifts, as well as speaking engagements that directly work to encourage artists. So I hope I didn't blow your bio completely. Some of those words were a little tough for me. So Victoria, we like to do things just a little bit different on this podcast show. And it says my internet's unstable, so I hope it goes away and comes back. So that's good. I hope I don't freeze up on us. So what we love to do is we really believe that in the Bible, Victoria, that when Jesus walked the face of the earth, he did so sharing stories, accounts, and parables for the purpose of people in the audience when he ministered, that their lives would be transformed. So with that, we love taking that same philosophy of connecting the dots of story. So if you're willing, would you be willing to be authentic with the audience and take us back to you as a little girl growing up as little Victoria or Vicky or whatever you were called, and share with us the good, the bad, or the ugly of what life was like growing up, and then how that life as a child transformed you into the amazing woman of God you are today.
Oh, thank you so much, Jill. It's a pleasure to be here and just get to share a little bit about my creative journey and all that. So I would say, yeah, back as a little girl, I went by Tori, and I grew up in a small town. Rolla is not a very big town. It's a university town, and so my dad's side kind of settled here when my grandpa became a geologist and was a professor at the university here. So that's kind of how our family got rooted here. And so growing up in a small town, I didn't have a whole lot in front of me as far as what it would look like to be an artist or a filmmaker. And I could tell those things were in me from a young age. I had a best friend at first grade, I think. And her mother was an art teacher at the high school. So we would go over to the studio after school and we would just have the greatest time, just, getting to get our hands dirty, making clay and painting and just all the things. And so from a real young age, I knew I was like drawn to those things. But then growing up here, in the Midwest, Raleigh, um, I I didn't really know exactly how to explore those things. It wasn't exactly something like sports that are just offered right and left. And so growing up, I did become an athlete. I'm 5'11". So, and my dad was an athlete. And so he like got me into basketball at a very early age. And so my whole life was kind of centered around being an athlete in these like really tough environments. And so I carried that into my college career as a basketball player. And then but I always had that desire to tell stories, that desire to create art. And so as I finished out college, I finished school in Phoenix, Arizona with a digital film production degree. And I wanted to pursue that. And so as I was around Phoenix and some of like a more kind of like artistic city, it helped open that up in me of, yeah, this is something I really want to pursue. And this is something that's not just a hobby, it's something like God put inside of me to develop into. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of my background.
So thank you so much for that intro. That's beautiful and amazing, the transformation. So one of the things, if you're willing, if not, that's okay too. Um, Along the path, in the Bible it says, in this world, until we get to heaven, there will be troubles. And so through all of that growing up, what troubles came into your life as far as hardships or hurts or the burdens that might come in of shame or not good enough or body any of those things that permeated throughout you growing up as a little girl into an adulthood? What kind of struggles did you go through?
Deep questions. Yeah, I think, well, one of the main ones that actually caused me to produce the first short film I did was called Kendall's Dream. And it's around the subject of body image, but it's told in a way that's more like allegory. So it might not be obvious to everyone, but I think growing up as a little girl with, two older sisters um, and wanting to feel beautiful, like wanting to know what that was and like be secure in my own skin. I think that was definitely a struggle when I got into my college years, and just really vying for like that attention of, because I could see how other girls would get attention. I was like, why is this not working for me? Like, what do I have to do? And so you kind of like put your soul at expense in order to do that. And then you kind of are living in this place of shame. And so I wanted to create a film that kind of like told the story of sort of what it's like for like a young girl or woman to grow up in our culture, because I think it's often just a subject explored by women. And I think it's a story that needs to be like, the men need to understand too, like what a horror type of situation we're putting girls and women in if Jesus is not, brought into the picture. Like this is what they're growing up in. So yeah, I could definitely say that was a difficulty in my life.
Well, thank you for sharing that with you. So, a lot of people have struggled throughout their lives with body image, and many men. I myself, Victoria, had and I use the word privilege. I was privileged to be able to have really good health care insurance and
Mm,
was able to go into the best of the best treatment centers for my eating disorder 5 times before
mm,
finding release from that. And so, in treatment, there were many people in treatment that were men, believe it or not, and
mm,
had a lot of body dysmorphia issues. And the one organization that's an amazing organization today, it's called Health at Every Size. And it's about, we live in this world where if someone is a larger frame person,
mhm,
the world looks at them as, oh my gosh, they're disgusting. Why don't they eat right? Why don't they do this? Why don't they exercise? Why?
mhm,
But many of us don't ever sit back and just say, Well, they may be a large frame person and maybe they are healthy, because how do we
Mm-hmm.
know what their health is? And
Mm-hmm.
so just because a person's size may not be to the person who's looking at them to their expectation does not mean that they're not healthy. And so
Right.
we've come up with this stigma. I had this happen to me one time, Victoria, where I was leading Eating Disorders Anonymous meetings, and I was
Mm-hmm.
having a trade show booth at a fitness center. And one of the fitness trainers came up to the table and asked me, he said, "Oh, what is this about?" I says, "Oh, this is about for people that struggle with anorexia, bulimia, restrictive avoidance disorder, body dysmorphia in binge eating." And he looked at me and says, "Well, obviously it's not working for you."
Oh,
And I was like shocked that this guy was a fitness instructor saying this, and he had no idea the
yeah.
recovery that I was undergoing and how well I was doing. And
Yeah.
so for
Yeah.
him to put that judgment, and think he knew my body and knew
Mm-hmm.
my health was so inappropriate. And
Right.
so I can see, especially when you mentioned, so maybe you can talk a little more on this, especially when you mentioned you're 5'11". So I can you share a little bit about growing up, of possibly being the tallest girl in school and what that was like?
Yeah. That's a really interesting question because I did not enjoy being tall. I didn't like being like, I don't know if you've ever watched Monsters Inc. I think it's Monsters Inc., but there's like a little short film at the beginning of Monsters Inc. And excuse me, there's all these little birds on this power line, these little birds, and then there's this huge giant bird. It's goofy looking and just goes and sits in the middle of the power line, and then all the little birds like sink to the middle. It's a really goofy like little short, but I was like, that's how I feel. A
Oh,
lot of times, like when I was growing up, like in middle school, junior high and stuff, I was just like this super tall, clumsy, like awkward kiddo. And I wasn't I I was comfortable. Like I had a lot of friends, but I wasn't super outgoing. So I always wanted to like kind of be in the background.
and did you
And you,
scrunch over a lot? Did you tend to scrunch
yeah,
over?
I didn't have great posture. Yeah. So I was always like, I wish I could just like not be so tall. But it's interesting because my boyfriend now, he was looking specifically for someone who is 5'11" or taller. And so it's just like amazing to me because
Is that because he's 5'7" or because he's 6'2"?
right 6'5", but it's just so interesting because the things that like I was terrified about myself as a little girl, growing up and wanted to hide from, how to become the things that I could walk like confidently in as an adult woman and like embrace. But whenever I really like my spiritual journey was what caused me to embrace the physical more. I don't think if I didn't have those experiences with Jesus, like in my college years, I wouldn't have embraced myself physically, as weird as that sounds. But it was a really transformational for me in every sense, like spiritual, physical, soul level. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And your tagline, how to tell your story with both technical expertise and excellent story structure. So you are a storyteller and you have the ability to utilize your technical expertise for storytelling. Is that accurate?
I would like to say so. Yeah. I would hope so. Yeah.
You can praise yourself. It's okay. It's okay. God gives us the ability to say how He created us in His image. So that's
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
share a little bit about that, so we know a little bit more about your technical expertise.
Yeah. So, like I said, I graduated from film school 2013. And that was just kind of like getting my feet in the water of this is what it looks like to work with a team and create something. And so we were doing all kinds of fun things. But then once I got out of school, I was like, I have no idea how to apply this to real life. So So I started, you know, I moved back to Missouri and I had started substitute teaching and working in middle schools, elementary schools, that kind of thing. And then around 2015 is when I got a job where I'm at now, at a university in town. And so they were looking for someone who could be a videographer for professors of what they needed for their online courses. So most of the times that looks like labs or short promotionals for their classes. So that's where I just learned to pick up a video, go shoot, go complete the edit, get it to the professor. So it was just like this very constant working with deadlines, working with different people on camera, not doing anything creative really, but just learning to get in the practice of completing a video over and over and over. So that's really how I've grown in the technical sense. My personality doesn't lean to the technical at all. It's like the most intimidating part to me. I love writing and creating and wardrobe and makeup and all the colors and all of that. But the technical part was what I really had to grow in. And so like these last few years have taught me like how to just keep producing. So yeah.
I can relate. I literally hate the technical too. And it's funny. I ended up for 15 years selling document management solutions and having to learn about routers and hubs and all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff and document management solutions. And I sold the first copiers when they came out that were
Wow.
multifunctional.
Okay.
And I literally, after 15 years, said, I'm done. I don't want to learn one more thing about a new copier.
Yeah.
And then who would know that I'd become a podcast show host, that I had to figure out how
There
to
you
do all
go.
this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, my brain can only take so much.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is I'm always motivated by, like, if it was a podcast, I would go and learn the technical because I want to tell the story. So I've kind of figured out how I'm motivated. So that really helps.
That helps you.
So yeah.
Yeah. I know I just had a guy on who's going to be on my show who wants to show me how to set up the best TikTok account and be able to get the most subscribers so that they will be directed to my YouTube channel. And I'm like, okay, how much learning do I have to do on this one? And it's like my bandwidth is so big, you know, it's like, okay, let's see how I can do this next. But
Yeah.
what I'd love the audience to know is that you are going to be in Branson, Missouri. I'm going to flick over here to the flyer. You're going to be in Branson, Missouri. I got to remember to talk into the mic here on April 21st to 23rd at the Branson Film Festival. That's going to be at the Copeland Theater on Gretna in Branson, Missouri. And you can get tickets now at bransonfilmfestival.com. There's tickets available. So get your tickets now. It's going to be an amazing weekend of, you know, just meeting people and watching their films and just connection. And then also, I'd love for you to take a peek at Victoria's bio and how to reach out to her. It's got her website here and how to connect with her as well. So definitely, you know, connect with Victoria if for any reason that you need, and she can tell you how you would want to connect with her next. But these are the two ways to connect with Victoria at the film festival and her website. So with that, could you tell us a little bit more? Is Ice Media the company you work for, or is it your company?
Yeah, so Ice Media is my little LLC that I formed a couple of years ago. And I work full time at Missouri S&T, so two different things. But yeah, so I formed Ice in 2015, and that's just what I kind of put anything with filmmaking or some of my other video projects under that name. So
And so
yeah.
can people hire you for different things? How would they go to your website to
Yes.
hire you? And if so,
Yes.
what would they hire you for?
Great question. So yeah, if you're interested in hiring me, I do video promotionals for anything where I'm infusing a creative concept to your story. So sometimes that can look like just your basic promotional, like 3 to 5 minutes. Other times, I know right now I'm working on an international project where they developed an app for a healthcare system in Africa. And so they told me about the app. And then I said, well, what if we wrote this story that tells the story of how you would use the app? And so what they did is they took that concept and then they're going to shoot it in Africa, and then I'm going to edit it here in America. So that's another way you can think of hiring me if you're looking for a creative director, creative concepts. Or sometimes people just hire me for the editing portions, whatever it may look like. Yeah, that's how you can hire me.
And then, you know, a lot of people now, many people are rising up as they do brand marketing. They're rising up and they're speaking on platforms today. And one of the things that I've just become familiar of myself is that when you are going on stages, professionally speaking, for events, it's very important on your websites to have promotional videos so that people, when they go onto your website, they know, you know, have like a minute and a half or whatever edited videos. And so I had that actually done for myself when I was going to a mastermind training in California this year, and I put those on my website. So do you do those types of promotional video editing shootings for people that want to brand themselves on their websites?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, any type of promotional work, that's typically not even a difficult edit for the most part. So even I've had people who they've already had something shot and they just want it edited a certain way. I can do that. But yeah, definitely videos are the way to go right now for any type of brand marketing. So yeah.
That's awesome. And then I when I was reading your bio here in closing, it says you enjoy developing young people and their
Yes.
creative gifts as well as speaking engagements. So talk a little bit about working with young people and speaking engagements that you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, I love kiddos. So I told you when I moved back to Missouri, I actually started substitute teaching. So I've kind of always been involved with young people, and I kind of found my niche whenever I started doing workshops with kids where it was kids, but it was creative kids. So I want people to have what I didn't necessarily have in small town Missouri, where these kids can, if they have a knack for creating or storytelling, they can find sort of a home for it and they can find a way to develop it. So last summer we did a workshop in the theater where kids could come and learn all the principles of movie making in a weekend. So I'm working with a group right now to develop that idea even further for the summer. And we're hoping to do maybe like a week-long thing. So that's, I really love that, which is surprising because that was never part of the plan. I just wanted to go do filmmaking, but I get a lot of joy out of watching like kids pick it up, and like they really, being around kids inspires me to just kind of come back to that childlike version of myself where like imagination is limitless and, you know, all things are possible.
where we can meet in the sandbox, right?
Yeah.
Let's meet in the sandbox. I love that. And then what about your speaking? Are you speaking at places now? Are you a paid speaker where people hire you to speak at events?
Well, so it's a little bit new for me. I have been speaking with my church for a couple of years now. And so recently I'm actually going to be doing a talk at the Branson International Film Festival. I think it's going to be the online version, but so I'm wanting to branch out a little bit more to, I guess you would call it secular, but just an audience of artists so that they're knowing how to be empowered and encouraged in their gifts, and how they can use their gifts in the world and the church and what that looks like. So yeah, I'm working on a TED talk right now. And then did a couple talks this last semester with the university and with my church. So
Amazing. Well, I can't wait to meet you. It's going to be so,
oh.
I already, when we get done, I already have some great ideas that we can team up on. So
Cool.
that I'll love to share with you. So everyone, please, please go today to get your tickets at bransonfilmfestival.com. If you live in Missouri, you can get tickets for as low as $50 for the 3-day event. That's like amazing, the price.
Yeah.
And watch all these amazing films, meet these amazing people. Kevin Sorbo and Sam Sorbo will be there. By the way, Kevin will be on my show April 15th in the afternoon. So stay tuned for meeting Kevin. And we just look forward to seeing you. So thanks so much, Victoria, for taking time out of your busy day to meet with the audience.
No problem. It's enjoyable.
God bless you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.